look out. Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Fresh off a little break, here comes under the bus. We got plenty of room under the bus now because we've had a couple of weeks to unload it. Three old guys talking about a lot of things that are going on in sports, and we've had a week off. Rich Basirico, Hall of Fame coach, Curry Kirkpatrick, Hall of Fame writer, Bob Stevens, former ESPN SportsCenter writer.
And a Hall of Famer.
There's nothing Hall of Fame about.
Hall of Fame podcaster.
Yeah. We're going to get to the guy who has just blown his Hall of Fame podcasting career by taking over as coach of the Lakers. But, we'll get to all that. Let's start last night. All right, let's start with the most recent. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. How cool is that?
Well, we're doing this on Tuesday, as we know. So last night was Monday night. Yes. Yeah. 7th game, which you watched.
I don't usually watch hockey, but I did last. It's the 7th game. How could you not watch
Great
that?
Drama. And probably, I think it was the only 1-goal game of the whole 7.
Yeah,
I mean, all the rest of them were, in hockey terms, blowouts.
Right.
Well, and the NHL said, even going into the game, this is the most important game in the history of the NHL. Because it was Game 7, never been done before since 1942. A team came back from 3-0 to win it. And they had the greatest player in the sport for Edmonton, Connor McDavid, as we call McJesus, who really turned this series around because at 3-0, he started playing. In games 4 and 5, he had 4 points in each game, which is a record. So he made 8 points in the 2 games to turn it around. Game 6, he didn't even have to score, which Edmonton won easily. So now we go to Game 7, and Florida's based their whole, they've been the best team in hockey for probably 2 years.
Well, they were in the finals last year.
Yeah. And the Panthers, they're based on defense, and they did a great job on McDavid. He only had 2 shots on goal in the first 2 periods. So they're leading 2-1 going into the third, and the third period was unbelievable. You saw it.
Right.
It was, great stuff. And
great
McDavid
defense.
missed a shot right in the crease. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And that was probably
They had the shot there. Yeah. Edmonton scored 18 goals in their 3 wins. In the other 4 games, I think they scored 5 goals.
Yeah.
If you can shut them down, obviously.
And I didn't realize McDavid has been in the league for 9 years. It seems like he's a rookie to me. I mean, because you don't hear about him.
Kid and you don't hear about him.
Yeah. And he won the what's it called, the Conn Smythe Trophy for the whole playoffs. He was the first losing player maybe to win it.
Rare.
Yeah.
I know that.
I mean, and they're talking about him in terms of Gretzky and Gordie
without a
Howe
doubt.
and Bobby Orr. He's one of the greats.
I want to throw Canadian hockey fans under the bus.
Okay.
All of Canada should have been rooting for Edmonton. They were not.
Nope.
Folks in Toronto, it just reminds them again, my God, we're not even the best team in our own damn country.
And they wanted the USA team to win.
But they don't want another Canadian team winning a cup before they do. Montreal fans the same way. I mean, they kind of want Canada to win, but they not them.
Right.
Especially Calgary. Their blood rival, Calgary, in Western Canada.
You've got a great
my Edmonton moment came in 1993. I was working ESPN doing TV features, and the one night the Edmonton coach Craig McTavish, Harvey the Hound they start over. Harvey the Hound is the Calgary mascot. Okay. He's a guy dressed as a hound. He got too close to the Edmonton bench, and McTavish, the Edmonton coach, reaches out and pulls out Harvey's tongue. With this really long tongue, he pulls it out of his mouth. The crowd goes nuts. Sure. This was in Calgary, and they go crazy, and the whole country of Canada goes nuts. It's a huge story for a week, and we back at ESPN said we got to go do this story and talk to Harvey the Hound about his tongue getting ripped out. So we went out there, and the coach went with it, the players went with it. Now Harvey the Hound, we go to his house. He went along with us. He's got his hound outfit on, and we're sitting there with his wife, who's a real. Do you really?
Yes, I really do.
Peace. Harvey's sitting on the couch, and he's a dog, and his wife, who's a real woman, is sitting next to him.
I hope she's a real woman.
Well, we're interviewing. She's not a hound, in other words, and I'm interviewing him.
Although she might be but we won't go there. Anyway.
Well, I'm interviewing him and asking them, some sensitive questions. I said, your husband's tongue is gone, and the hound is saying stuff, and of course he can't talk.
Right.
So we're conrunning him when we run the piece in English what he's saying, and he can't talk, and he's trying to talk, and his wife's saying it's really been. So I said, "What is it like for your love life?" I really asked him, and the wife is going, "It's been really, it's been tough getting through this," and we're doing this interview. I mean, I can't hardly stop.
That's what I'm
laughing.
saying. Can we not go cracking up when you ask these questions?
I can't. I'm asking, and they're seriously answering these questions. It was great. So we had to make some context to this story and bring some other people in. So I had 3 other interviews I wanted to do. One was with Triumph, the insult comic dog. You remember Triumph on SNL? He was a puppet. He was a puppet, and he had a cigar, and he spoke in a Spanish accent. You don't remember Triumph? He was a huge guy on SNL, and
I don't remember
the guy that voiced him was a guy named Robert Smigel, who worked for ESPN. Worked for Saturday Night Live for a long time. Was a writer, and I knew him. So I called him up, and he said, "Oh yeah, we'll do that." And I came over and interviewed this puppet with a cigar in his mouth, talking in a Spanish accent. And he was saying stuff like, about his compatriot, the other dog, and he says, "Oh, it's so awful, so terrible. There must be nothing he can do now but suicide." It was hysterical. So then the other 2 interviews I did were Dr. Joyce Brothers, who I always went for the psychology stuff of the story. And she was my go-to woman. And she said, "Oh yeah," and she had this beautiful apartment in New Jersey overlooking the Hudson, and we went. So we scheduled an appointment. She said, "Oh, come over. I'll talk about this this dog losing his tongue." I mean, and then my 3rd interview was going to be with Gene Simmons of Kiss. So we actually called up Kiss, and we called up his management, Kiss's management. Unfortunately, they were in Tokyo on tour.
Why'd you fly there?
Well, so our next thought was we get a Kiss tribute band.
Okay.
This is hysterical. So we called up, we found this tribute band out on Long Island. And we talked to this guy on the phone, and he was like a 30-year-old guy who lived with his parents, and his job was to be the Kiss, be Gene Simmons, go around, performing his Kiss tribute band. So we had him come to, this is my genius moment, we had the Kiss guy come to Dr. Joyce Brothers' apartment. We were going to everyone together and apart and together, and it was great. So we schedule this, and we do Dr. Joyce Red's appointment. And we get finished with her, and the Kiss guy is supposed to arrive at 3:00. He's not there 3:15, 3:30. Not there. 4:30, an hour and a half late. He comes up. He drives up. His parents are driving the car. He gets out of the car. He's not even made up yet. He's got a suitcase in his hand. And he comes to the door, and Dr. Joyce Brothers answers the door and said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, nice to meet you. Listen, I didn't have time to put my outfit on. Do you have a room I can change?" She said, "Oh, come in." So he goes into Dr. Joyce Brothers' bedroom and changes. It takes him an hour to put on his paint and all his face.
Hey, Justin, it's a story YouTube findable because we should have everybody go to it to find it.
Well, I'll wind up, but I did the interview finally. Dr. Joyce Brothers and Gene Simmons Kiss lookalike are doing it was hysterical. So I end up doing the story. I interviewed Dr. Joyce Brothers, a Kiss guy, a puppet, about a mascot. That's my legacy piece at ESPN.
Pretty much your legacy.
That's what made him famous. That's what made him famous.
That's what more the big bucks that are now going to
Harvey the Hound.
Yeah. We complain about these coaches making too much money. Look what he's doing.
Big bucks. This is why I didn't get paid. This was why I wasn't getting paid enough.
Yeah, I was taking all the time.
Wasn't getting paid enough.
I was taking all the time.
Curry's getting paid.
We're taking all the money and the time.
Doing puppets.
That's right. To get that big Curry Kirkpatrick guy, and he's going to do puppets.
Talking to a puppet about a hound mascot.
I have a really quick. Edmonton, really quick compared to that Edmonton story. That it was Gretzky, and it was when he was going to break Gordie Howe's record. Either the goals or the points. And Jack Edwards, who just recently retired as the Boston Bruins play-by-play guy, but Jack worked at ESPN for quite a while. And Jack was following him, and didn't have to follow him long because Gretzky was good, but he was following him, and he finally breaks the record in Edmonton, and they had already set up to do this. Remember back when ESPN, the Sunday sit down or whatever, the big conversation, was the big deal. Well, they had already booked that ahead of time, When you break the record, we'll do the Sunday sit-down the next morning. Next morning comes, and they're set up in this ballroom in Edmonton, and this cart comes in with all this pastries, all this food, coffee, juices, and whatever, and a note. And the note is from Gretzky. Jack reads the note. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. Make sure the guys get fed. How great a guy is great. That's why they call him the great one.
Right, that's cool.
Like that. All right.
That's really cool.
Hockey's done.
All right.
Florida's the champs, which is incongruous in its own right, but we'll get to that some other time, I'm sure. Let's go to the NBA, where the week before, after we did our last show, Boston finished off. Dallas won it in 5. Hooray, hurrah. But I think, I don't know, is there anything more to talk about on that
Well,
series?
they call it. They call it
the postseason?
Well, they call it a gentleman's sweep, right?
Yes.
4-1.
Yeah.
And Rich, you had it all on. They're too deep, too talented, too much defense, too many shooters.
Right,
Boston.
so much better.
Yeah,
So much
yeah.
better than Dallas.
So
I think the only drama was seeing if Brown or Tatum would get the MVP. And,
Did you think
by the way,
Yes.
Jason Tatum from Chaminade High School in St. Louis was a classmate of Matthew Tkachuk, who was the best player for the Florida Panthers.
how about that?
I mean, classmates.
Wow.
And they won the
Wow,
NBA
that's
championship
pretty
and
cool.
the NHL championship back-to-back
So which
weeks.
one gets
They were
to
classmates in high school.
Which one gets
Shout
to
out.
speak at commencement?
Probably
That'll be the
Oh,
controversy in St. Louis.
Shout out to Chaminade High School.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I thought you were going to say Chaminade on Long Island.
No, well, no. I
Of course,
wasn't going to say that.
so the big drama in the NBA is, of course, who's going to end up getting to coach LeBron. And we go through, I think we did get to talk about the UConn coach turning it
Well,
down.
the Lakers,
And then the
again,
Lakers.
commandeered the whole NBA Finals by first this romance with Hurley, which people think was a joke from the beginning, and they think Hurley might have been using the Lakers
Without a
using
doubt.
Hurley.
Without a doubt.
And then they wind up hiring apparently the guy they've been talking to for months, JJ Redick, the podcast partner of LeBron James. And then they say, Rich, LeBron had no impact on the
yeah.
team.
Of course not.
He's the first guy they called. He's the first. You know, JJ's only 6 months older than LeBron.
I'm surprised he's over at all.
6 months older than LeBron. So what's
Well,
his?
do the Lakers think their fan base are absolute morons to say that he had no impact and who's the center? He had no impact either.
Anthony Davis.
Come on. I mean, he's his podcast partner.
So help me understand this. You know,
You're the coach.
I understand, but I don't understand
You
it.
help me to understand.
Why would you be hiring a guy? He was a terrific player in the NBA. He could shoot it without a doubt. They say he had a good head on his shoulders and all that. No background whatsoever. I think Justin pointed out that he's coached 10-year-olds. That's the only team he's ever been a head coach of 10-year-olds. And now he's going to coach in the NBA. So you're saying, okay, we want a guy with NBA experience, but you were willing to hire Hurley, who had no NBA experience, just a great college coach. But now we're going to go with JJ, who has no coaching experience, but he was an NBA player.
Couldn't find something in the middle of that. That's kind of the two guardrails.
Well, he obviously knows basketball. I mean,
Well,
we've
there are a
been
lot of
watching
guys
on
that know
TV. Yeah,
basketball.
yeah. His main problem to me is he's a LeBron guy. He's LeBron's friend. Come on. Is he going to have the respect of the other players in the
No.
locker room? Anthony Davis, apparently, he see it okay. He said, we're going to hire this guy. He's okay by me. But, Rich, anything Redick says, they know is coming from on high. It's coming from his nibs, LeBron. I mean, they know that going in. So I wonder about the respect he's going to get.
But Anthony and LeBron have approved any coach that they've ever played for. So they say they approve of this guy for how long? For how long?
Well, here's an interesting
That's why
aspect.
you don't sign
'cause-
into a long-term deal.
Well, it's 4 years. I mean, but LeBron will be gone by then. He'll be out of there in a year or two, max, right?
Sure.
Probably.
Well,
Unless he leaves this summer.
here's an interesting aspect of this. Rich, Bob, we should speculate on who might
Yeah.
JJ Redick's assistants be, because that's going to be important.
Very
right?
important.
Right?
Very,
He's
very
brand
important.
new to this.
Who he
He-
surrounds
who he's gonna
himself
surround
is
himself.
huge. He needs guys with NBA experience.
Yep. And
Without a doubt.
I got a couple guys. I mean,
Tell
they're
us who you
obvious.
think.
Well, the broadcaster Stan Van Gundy, former coach.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
Good.
He was Redick's first coach in the NBA.
Oh, is that right?
And they went through that Dwight Howard catastrophe together.
Okay.
So, and Stan Van Gundy's been around a long time.
He'd be great.
He's been a really good coach in the NBA. I think he would take it in a second. And, Redick knows him from both broadcasting and his first coach, which is kind of cool.
Well, he helped the Celtics out this year when he was fired as the NBA.
That was his brother.
Oh, that was his
brother, who's now with the Clippers. Has now taken over.
Jeff's back as an assistant.
with the Clippers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Stan could go to LA and he'd be near his brother too.
Yeah.
So
and they could share a beach house.
Yeah.
That would be good.
well, another guy, maybe a second assistant. His whole staff is going to be important.
He can have 8 guys.
He might hire the guy. He might hire the guy that Hurley replaced at Connecticut, Kevin Ollie, who's been around the NBA, played. He's coached in the NBA. I think he helped. He was a head coach with the Nets for a while.
Right, he was an interim coach for the Nets. Yes,
and he also
that's a good one.
He also coached Kevin Ollie's been coaching overtime elite, which means he's developing players.
Right.
Which the Lakers say that's one thing we want from Redick, to develop guys. I don't know about that.
Develop?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Of course, he's a. Mike Krzyzewski was apparently involved in all this. He's been an advisor to the Lakers and all this. Of course, who else was he gonna recommend except Redick? One of his proteges.
Right.
And JJ in his opening press conference on Monday started out. They asked him, "What do you think about all these rumors about you not having experience?" And he said, "I'm not interested in that. I'm not effing interested in that." He threw about 5 F-bombs in his opening press conference, which is a chip off the old block of rat.
That means he's insecure. He's insecure. He's already worried about what the press is going to write about already.
Yeah.
That's scary when you start to think about that. When they start questioning the decisions he makes during games will really hit the fan then.
Well, and okay, LeBron Productions Incorporated, after they produce that, now they're producing whether his son Bronny will get drafted, who will he get drafted by, and that whole story started up. And the agent Rich Paul, right, limited his workouts to 2 teams,
right.
the Lakers. What's that all about, Rich? Come on.
I don't know. Well, he wants to be drafted by the Lakers without a doubt. And for the NBA to draft Bronny, first of all, they could sign him as a free agent. They don't need to draft him. They don't need to draft him. I read an NBA assistant coach.
What if somebody else late in the second round?
Just to kill the Lakers, just to piss off the Lakers.
You're throwing your picks away. there have been some good players drafted in the second round.
They got the 17th and the 55th pick.
Well, they can't do it the 7th. There's no way in the 50th.
No.
But there was an NBA assistant that said he doesn't dribble well or shoot the ball well. So where does he fit? But there are other NBA guys that think he will be a good NBA player. He averaged 4 points a game last year.
Look, the guy couldn't make the starting team in Southern Cal.
And they didn't even have a winning record.
Which was a terrible team.
Right.
Didn't make the tournament. And after that happened, the Southern Cal coach leaves for that basketball hotbed of SMU. And then USC quickly hires the maniac from Arkansas.
Right.
Musselman. And then Arkansas quickly hires John Calipari, who got a, quote, release from Kentucky. It was mutual, quote.
They were actually pushing him out the door.
So did Bronny start this coaching carousel, or did he get off just in time? I don't know what happened. But
I don't see why an NBA team thinks he's good enough to play in the NBA. Tomorrow night.
So you better watch this quick, because this will all be old news.
Well, going back to Bronny and Rich Paul, the agent, who's LeBron's agent for a long time. Now he's Bronny's agent. He came out the other day and said, I think he said this: LeBron is not all in anymore on playing with his son. What?
Yeah.
I mean, we spent the last half century, listening to this guy say the only reason he's staying around is win championships and play with his son. What are they saying?
And his son even says it's not all about me playing with my dad. He's even come out to say that.
But come on.
Are we Bronny, you better be saying that, or you're not going to get drafted.
That's true.
If it's not all about playing with dad, nobody else is going to take it.
How about and I know you're looking at your sheet to close this off, but how about the final word on this?
Yes,
final word on
please.
this. Let's leave to Rich Paul, the agent's girlfriend, whose name is Adele.
Yes.
She's a singer. You might have heard of her, okay?
I think I've heard of her.
Well, she's got some songs that, describe this chaos. set fire to the rain. Okay, how's that at?
Yeah.
Chasing pavements, which is what the Lakers have been doing forever. And I like the last one, rolling in, one of our most famous things, rolling in the deep. And we know what the deep is in this case, right? They've been rolling in it. That's Adele. So
There you go.
I'm out.
That was good.
I'm out.
He's out. He's
All
out.
right, we're going to bring it back, though, right after this break. We're going to talk about, we lost two legends in this past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We need to talk a little bit about them. Curry's probably got stories. I got one that's marginal, but
Okay.
we'll roll with it. We'll tell some more stories when we come back and throw more people under the bus. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. We are brought to you by Hudson's in Hilton Head Island. Fabulous seafood restaurant. If you're coming to Hilton Head, you have to go there for the historical significance of it. It's a great
On the water.
Hilton Head place on the water. Go there. Sunsets.
Shrimp
fabulous.
boats, shrimp boats everywhere.
Great seafood.
They grow their own oysters, so there's not even seasonal oysters. They've got them pretty much year round. We appreciate their support.
Absolutely.
All right. We lost a couple of the goats. It sounds like a shepherd story. Two goats lost.
Well, it's like the sports world is we see goats, we see dead people.
Yeah.
I immediately thought, deaths come in threes.
Right.
I mean, I'm so ghoulish that I was
Jerry
figuring
West,
out who's
Willie Mays,
Jerry West, and who goes next. I mean, I'm so ghoulish. I'm thinking, is it Tom Brady has a stroke doing all the X's and O's for Fox?
Hope not.
How about Bjorn Borg goes bankrupt again and jumps out of a high rise in Monte Carlo? I mean, there's sick stuff here. My favorite is your boy Gretzky, the great one. He has a heart attack watching another TNA picture of his daughter on TikTok. I mean, that's where. sorry, Wayne. That's where. But another goat. I mean, it's going to happen, right? It's sad. It's very sad.
Seems like it will.
Yeah.
Let's start with Jerry West, the logo.
One of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best.
I had to have written about Jerry West.
Well, I did, but when I was covering the NBA is when he was coaching the NBA, which was at his lowest moments. The one thing in basketball he really didn't do well is coach. And he had about a 500 record coaching for a couple of years, but it drove him crazy. He was really as that TV, and as his book showed, he was a really tortured individual, Jerry, because he was a perfectionist, couldn't stand, he always had a bad image of himself, growing up in West Virginia. Zeke from Cabin Creek was the name. He hated that. But when he was coaching, he was coaching mediocrity, and he couldn't stand it. It drove him crazy. He was, he just went nuts. And, there's this, even when he then became an executive at the Lakers, they weren't doing well for time. And the TV movie Winning Time depicts him sitting in his car outside the Lakers, in the parking lot, outside the Forum, pounding on the dashboard when the Lakers weren't doing well. I mean, this guy was trouble.
On the other hand, he figured out how to get Shaq, and he figured out how to get Kobe. And boom.
Well, he won 8 championships as an executive, only one as a player. But as a player, he played in 14 years of playing in the NBA, he played in 9 finals. 9 out of 14 years and won 1 time.
Well, he was, I call him a beautiful loser, and it started in college. He took West Virginia to the NCAA championship game, lost by 1 point to Cal, one of Pete Newell's great teams, lost by 1 point, and got named the MVP of the Final Four as a loser.
Right.
I don't think that's ever happened
Bill
since.
Bradley.
That's right. Okay, played in the consolation game, got 58 in the consolation game or something like that.
Yeah.
But they went, a decade later, he lost again in the NBA Finals and was named MVP as a loser.
Right.
And that's the only time that's happened, right?
I believe so.
And then he lost all those games. But he's in the Hall of Fame for 3 different reasons, 3 different times as a
Which
player,
is amazing.
being on an Olympic team, and then he's going to get in this fall again as a contributor. I mean, just think of that. I mean,
he was a great player. I mean, he averaged 27 points a game for his career, averaged 29 in the NBA playoffs. Think about about him, Curry and Bob, he was such a competitive person. I mean,
well, that's what
over the top.
drove him nuts.
That's what drove him nuts. Over the top. He was so
it could be
competitive.
said he was one of the most influential players and executives in the history of basketball. I mean, he's had one of the great careers in the history of basketball.
He's on the Mount Rushmore of that,
without a doubt.
as is Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, I got one story about Jerry
Okay.
that, it's a third person story, but he, they won 33 games in a row one year. And they were, and they went everywhere. They were like the Bulls of the future. They were big celebrities. Everywhere there was celebrities. Everywhere they go, they were mobbed. And there's one story about Jerry on a plane trip with his teammate Gail Goodrich, who was a younger version of Jerry. He was really a terrific player, and they were both these good-looking ladies' men, and they were all ladies' men over the years. And they were on a plane trip one time, and Goodrich is chatting up this one spectacular stewardess, this really foxy stewardess, and they're really getting on. He's talking the whole plane ride with the stewardess. And as they get off the plane, she's on a layover, and Gail Goodrich says to the stewardess, "Look, it's been great," and she was really into it. And he says, "Look, could I, you're in town, could I get your phone number?"
Right.
And the stewardess looks at Gail Goodrich and said, "Gail, well, it's been great, but I already gave it to Jerry." I mean, Jerry West was the man.
That's the man. Oh, when you're doing that. Willie Mays was the man for so many of us growing up. Greatest. I do have a Willie Mays story. And the first Major League game I ever saw, 1969, June, Candlestick Park, San Francisco. The Giants, this is 69. Willie Mays had played in the doubleheader the day before, and so he was going to sit. He wasn't going to play. They were playing Cincinnati. The close game, late game, Herman Frank sends him up to pinch hit. And Willie strikes out on a pitch 4 feet outside. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I'm thinking, that's not Willie Mays. It was Willie Mays. But Willie Mays, I mean, he still rose above that and was just...
There's so many stories that you've heard about and what a competitor he was, and what kind of like a trash talker. Like he was really, in his day. He talk all the time. And, I grew up in St. Louis, so I was a big Cardinal fan, and my guy was Stan Musial, who was a little ahead of Willie, but a contemporary, basically. But then I moved to Western New York and always heard about the three teams in New York, the Yankees, the Giants, and the Dodgers. Sure. And there were songs written about Willie, Mickey Mantle, and the Duke Snyder. Right. Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. There were songs written about these guys. So that's what I remember.
They always compare those three.
Yeah.
Well, Willie made the All-Star team 24 times.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Well, you see the old
back
footage.
in the day, there were
played
two
correct.
Twice.
Correct.
He had more All-Star teams than he had years.
In the old footage that you see, you always remember the catch.
Yes.
In the World Series of Vic Wertz. And Willie, the Willie basket catch back to the home plate. And Willie always said, "I made 10, 12 catches better than that." He always wondered why that was
the number one.
Mean, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And then there's footage of the fight which the Giants had with the Dodgers,
where
his teammate Juan Marichal went after Roseboro John to catch it with a bat, hit him with a bat.
Yes.
And the footage I remember is Roseboro being walked off, being escorted into the dugout after the fight by Willie Mays, his opposing player.
Yeah.
And Willie Mays supposedly was helpful in breaking up the fight. Well, Willie Mays getting into
He was a
fight.
man.
Yeah.
He was 5'2". He could do it all, right? He could hit home runs. He could catch, throw, steal bases. He did it. He did it all.
Really brought the stolen base. Was one of those who brought the stolen base back in to baseball. He pretty much gone out.
Well, he had over 600 home runs, over 300 stolen bases.
And of course the great quote though is from Warren Spahn. Willie started his career. He was 1 for 22. The one was a home run off Warren Spahn. Warren says, "You know what? If I don't give him that home run, he never see him again."
How can he was to say, "Hey, kid"?
Yeah.
What did he just to say?
Well, he used to say, "Hey."
Say, hey.
There's a great footage of him playing stickball in the
in
streets,
Harlem,
in the streets with the kids,
right?
And he's in street clothes,
and
he's out there playing with the kids.
That's when he played for the New York Giants. He would go after off days and play stickball with the kids.
I think he played during the day of games, because he loved the game so much.
So who's the greatest? Cool. He's the oldest Hall of Famer was still alive was Willie. Now it's Luis Aparicio. That doesn't
No, now it's Sandy Koufax.
Well,
We could argue about that. Yeah, but
Who's the greatest living player?
Sandy Koufax, I would say.
Johnny Bench.
Okay, well, you could argue this for days.
Could argue that.
For you.
That's tough. Johnny Bench, that's tough. Koufax. I was a pitcher in high school. Koufax. I'm picking Koufax.
Okay, all right.
Going back to Willie Minut's stories, Joe Torre told this story the other day on the radio. Okay. He was catching one game with Willie. He was friends with Willie. He always talked with Willie when he come to bat. He'd be at bat, and Torre's talking to him. So Torre's asking him a question, and Willie's not answering. Pitch comes in, no answer. Joe says, you ask Willie again. Willie, no pitch comes in, no answer. Joe Torre says, hey, I'm talking to you, Willie. He says, I'll answer the question when I get back. Pitch, bang, yard.
So, but he gets the whole plate, and he give him an answer.
There's another story that Willie's on first base. It's in a close game. It's a 1-1 game. And a guy hits the ball at deep center. Guy makes a great catch at the end of the game. So thereafter, Willie was on first.
Right.
After the game, he's in the press room, and they said, Willie, if that guy misses the ball, would you have scored? Would you have scored on that play? Willie said, I had scored, shaved, and showered before the ball got back in. I mean, he really talked it. He really talked it up.
That's funny.
Well, did you see the Rickwood Field game the other night? The Cardinals and the Giants, and they had all
which
these,
turned into a great tribute to
Right, Willie, yeah.
and they had all these great black players, which was already scheduled before Willie's death. And they were in their 90s. There was a guy 99 years old.
Is that right?
That threw out the first pitch, and he did a pretty good throw.
Did he throw a strike?
And it wasn't a strike, but and Barry Bonds was there, and the whole, the black community. It was wonderful, and they were doing songs and stuff with all these black players and sitting around. I had my Rick Wood moment. Do you want to?
I want to hear it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I was working for Newsweek magazine just after I left SI. It was 1993. And I proposed a story on a movie director named Ron Shelton. And Shelton did White Men Can't Jump, Tin Cup, the great baseball movie Bull Durham. He did all these great sports movies, Ron Shelton. So I said, let's do. He was about to shoot a movie about Ty Cobb, about the life of Ty Cobb. And I said, I'd like to produce it. He said, that's great. So we went down, and they went to Birmingham to film in the Rickwood Stadium to film parts of this movie. And I was told that the shooting the movie led to the restoration of Rickwood to the present day. Okay. So because he hired all these local people to come as extras sitting in the stands. Mm-hmm. So I go down, and the star of the movie was Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, wow.
He played Ty Cobb. Yeah. So I'm talking to Shelton, and I was down there for a few days, and I said, Ron, do you think Tommy Lee Jones would talk to me? I talked to him about you. Right. And he said, well, he hates the media, and Tommy Lee hadn't got a lot of, time. He said, I'll ask him. I said, yeah, just ask him. He said, came back, he said, Tommy Lee give you 5 minutes. He's in the dressing trailer, in the trailer. So I'd never been to a movie trailer back. So I go back, and I had known about Tommy Lee Jones because I had read about him. He went to Harvard. Right. He was a roommate of Al Gore.
Yes.
He was also a very good football player. He's all Ivy League football player. Okay. Guard on the line. And he played in the famous 29-29 Harvard-Yale tie. Okay. He played in that game. Wow. I found out, I was stunned to read this, playing the game. The famous headline in the Harvard scored 16 points in the last minute and a half to tie. And the headline in the Harvard Crimson said, Harvard beats Yale 29-29. It's a great headline.
That's right.
So now I go I knock on the door, I go in, and Tommy Lee's, he's bigger than life. He's a really tough guy. He's sitting in there, he's got the towel on, he's getting made up. And I get in, he says, oh, you're the guy from Newsweek. You want to know about Shelton? What do you want to know? Give me a question. I said, well, nice to meet you. And I called him Tommy Lee. He said, call me Tommy Lee. I said, I know all about your sports career. Could I ask you something about the Harvard-Yale tie, the 29-29 tie? He looks at me with this angry look on his face. He throws off his towel, he gets up, and he starts screaming at me. He says, tie? That was no fucking tie. We won that game. He did 10 minutes on the game, like in my face. I thought the girl doing his face was like terribly afraid, and I was scared he was going to hit me because he came right at me. He's right in my face, yelling in my face for 10 minutes about this game. Finally, I mean, it was unbelievable. So finally we got through that, and I asked him about Sheldon, but it was, it was great, me meeting Tommy Lee, but it was terrifying. He was so
Do you think he was going to
the
hit you?
game. I thought he was going to do something. He was going to grab it. Because he was talking about, because he's a lineman, he's football, and saying, we won that fucking game, and I'm going to tell you all about it, and he did blah, 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 blah.
So, on the list, is it high on the list of people who have intimidated
yeah, right up there.
Yeah, okay.
So the last thing, they start to film a scene from the movie. There's this famous story about Ty Cobb. He was confronted by a heckler in the Rickwood stands. So they have a heckler in the stands screaming at Ty Cobb. They're filming the scene. And Ty Cobb famously roared in the stands and started beating on this guy, like pummeling the guy. The guy's in it, because Ty Cobb he was once to fight guy.
Right.
Wanted to fight everybody. Roars in the stands, he's beating on this guy, and the fans all around saying, Cobb, stop it, the guy's a cripple. This is a famous story. The guy's a cripple. And Cobb looks down, he sees crutches, and the guy's like a cane, and so he stops beating on the guy, and leaves, and blah. So the guy that played the cripple in the movie, the cameo, the guy that played the cripple was Jimmy Buffett.
You're kidding me.
So I got to meet Tommy Lee Jones and Jimmy Buffett on the set of Cobb.
Wow.
That's my Rickwood story.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a really good story.
That's
How do you top that?
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, I was going to throw Michael Jordan playing at Rickwood during the season.
Yeah,
playing
that's
the
right, he
minors
did.
into that, but that doesn't beat Jimmy Buffett. Take that,
Or Tommy
Michael.
Lee Jones. By the way, Tommy Lee had just won his only Oscar like 2 weeks before that when I went to see him. So maybe he was like happy. He won for
He was
supporting
happy after
actor.
coming after you.
He only
Won
wanted
the
to beat you up for
supporting
10
actor.
minutes.
Well, won supporting actor for The Fugitive. Remember that?
Okay,
movie?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right,
That's good stuff.
We're way over time, but that's what the heck. It's a podcast, right?
Hey.
We'll do that kind of stuff. We do have some things to wrap up, and we will do that as we continue Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens alongside Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. As I mentioned, we've gone way over. We got a couple of things we got to get out of the way. U.S. Open golf.
Your boy.
Well, my boy would have been Rory making the putt. Although
16 and 18,
How
right?
do you miss that?
especially the one at
Seriously.
18. Well, the one at 18, John Rahm later said that he
right.
criticized the Golf Channel seriously, and I could buy it. It was a sharp breaking putt. It wasn't just a 3.5 footer that he pushed, and it was a missable putt, and he missed it. Bryson DeChambeau wins the whole live. We'll get into that.
I mean,
as the summer goes along.
their kind of images change within a
Within the
day,
tournament.
within a tournament, within one round, within maybe 20 minutes, the 18th hole.
Yeah,
the
DeChambeau is
16th,
now the darling, and
and Rory was too big.
Left.
Well, I still think, I know
Yeah.
I know the 18th putt was, Rich could make those two putts blindfolded. Come on, the putt on 16, which was really the putt that
Have you
killed
seen
him.
me play golf?
Well, I mean, but Rory's
he worked at it.
maybe Rory's worst miss was missing the post round interview. He skipped out on the. Well, I know nobody cares about that, except it's, prior to that, Greg Norman loses the Masters, leads the Masters by 6.
Yeah.
Loses the Masters by 5.
Right.
11 stroke change to Faldo. He beats the press, talks about it.
Yeah, saves his image.
Jean Van de Velde, the great Frenchman who leads by 3 on the 72nd hole of the Open at Carnoustie, was it?
Yeah.
He goes in the water and rocks and goes everywhere. He lost in the playoff. We're led by 3 strokes on the last pole.
Golf the losers talk. It's
Well,
one of the sports where they
Yeah,
But
they
is he
suck.
required to stay?
No,
He's not.
No.
And Rory
And
left.
he didn't.
Well, and Rory got to the parking lot and sped off like Dale.
Earnhardt.
What's the Earnhardt of Daytona? It's with not the same disastrous results, but maybe. I mean, everybody criticized. You know, I'm a press guy, and I don't know why guys have to come in after such a horrible finish and talk to. I don't require that. I don't blame him. That's the point.
No, I don't.
But everybody got.
But
people got on him for that because he's so media friendly.
Well, he is, and he also the thing that the crime he might have committed was he didn't stay around long enough to congratulate DeChambeau. He didn't.
Okay.
That's right.
Do the gentleman
Right.
thing,
Yeah. Right.
like you saw last night. Boy, I can tie this whole thing right back to hockey. The lineup at the end of the imagine the lineup last night.
And they had to wait because they haven't celebrated first. They celebrated.
Well,
That's a great tradition of the hockey. That's terrific.
Well, McJesus did not come out to accept his trophy because what's he going to do? You know, they named him before they gave the team trophy, and all the Panthers all the Panthers hang around with all their wives and children. They're expecting him to come out and accept. No, that's not going to work. But getting back to golf, what's the most important question out of this? Is Live in the PGA Tour. Now the biggest star in golf, Bryson DeChambeau, obviously the most popular guy, and he played to the crowds. The whole, he knows what to do, and he really is the most popular guy in golf. You're never going to see him. He can't play in the Olympics. He can't play in the Ryder Cup. He can play the Open in England next month, but where else are you going to see him? What are they going to do about this, Bob? Come on.
Well, maybe it's pushing it one more step closer to fixing it. Although I still don't see where the fix is, where they all come together. I just don't see that happening.
Well, and
I don't know.
Of course this week, your guy Scotty Scheffler wins like his 12th term of the year. So he gets six. But Schauffele was in it, and Scheffler, I call him the two shuffle guys. They should do. I mean, Scotty Scheffler might be the greatest guy in the world. Mm-hmm. But he's going to put you to sleep. He's the most bored. They should have a bore-off between him and Schauffele. Yeah. Or him and Cantley. That'd be great. See who could put the crowd to sleep the fastest. They have those demonstrators at the Travelers on the 18th hole. Right. Came out there, climate
joke.
Yeah.
Smoke bombs.
Right.
That's not exactly helping the climate. But that was the most exciting. That was more exciting than Scheffler's. Round, right? I mean, seriously, he finally found something exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what golf's going to do, but DeChambeau now. He did play last week, by the way, in the Live Tour in Nashville.
Right.
And they apparently now have a party hole for each round, and it was the 15th hole, par 3 in Nashville. And DeChambeau's on the tee about the tee off, and Greg Norman, his CEO, runs on. There's noise and there's music on this hole. Greg Norman runs onto the green. Did you see this?
No.
He ran onto the green as if he's going to, keep the flag for DeChambeau's shot. And DeChambeau's shot, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like bewildered. Here's his guy, but it's in the, it's fun times and Live. Fun times.
Fun times.
I mean, Norman hovering over everything still. As the CEO
the thing that
of
has
Live.
not been said about all of that is that DeChambeau actually won a tournament that went more than 54 holes. and came back to win it. He ends up winning the U.S. Open because it was finally a legitimate tournament, and that's what everybody is saying is the most illegitimate about Live Golf is the fact
54 and no cuts.
Yeah.
Well, DeChambeau's supporters say, though, they think it's helped him playing on the Live Tour because he can develop his game and do stuff that he really couldn't do playing every week.
Well, and
on
he
the
is
PGA.
now, he is now, and again, the Live Golf is different. They do make a lot of noise. There is a lot more stuff going on. So all of the whatever cacophony of
Didn't
the
bother.
major championship, In fact, he played to it.
Oh, he played the crowd.
Which I thought it was brilliant.
You remember
He
on one
loves
hole?
that.
On one hole, he was
And by the way, he went to that school, SMU. He could be the basketball coach at SMU.
SMU. Yeah. Did you see one hole? He was teasing the crowd. It was a drivable par 4. It was in the last round, wasn't it, or fourth round, or maybe third round.
Where he said, "You guys want me to do
Yeah,
this?"
and he pulled out a club and this club, and he goes this club, and the crowd going, "Go for it!" And he said, "No, I'm not. Sorry, but don't boo me." He said, "Don't boo me."
Yeah, but don't.
And Rory is never booed, but they did start chanting "USA, USA" on the last 2 holes, which I thought was kind of tacky.
Very tacky.
And he's playing an Irishman and whatever.
And in 2 years, they'll kick our butts in the Ryder Cup again, and he can, that'll be his
He'll
answer
smile again.
to tacky.
He'll smile again.
All right. Anything anything else we need to wrap up? I'm going through my whole list. I'm seeing
it's soccer time.
nothing.
Come on, it's soccer time.
We're still not talking baseball. I guess we're going to wait till the All-Star
Baseball's
break.
got a pretty long season to go, right?
Well, yeah, but we still haven't talked about it. Yeah, they've been playing for 3 months.
That's because the Yankees are going in a slump, and he doesn't want to talk about it.
But they're still in first place.
But
Don't give them a time.
Well, I want to talk about I mean,
the one times that I watch soccer are, the World Cup, obviously, and then things like the Copa Americas and the European, where you've got a country
going on at the same time. Which
where you've got all the national fervor and the excitement. You got somebody to root for.
Well, and the biggest stars in soccer, what do they call it? Football. What do they call it? Toe, kicky, footy. The footy. Biggest stars are Messi and Ronaldo. Messi for Argentina. So the first game, they're playing in Atlanta the other night. Yeah. Argentina's playing. And Messi had like 3 or 4 one-on-one with the goalie and got stopped. He got stopped. I mean, he had, a rush away, easy. They looked easy. They should have won. They won 3-0. They should have won that game 8-0, Argentina. But, and then Argentina bitched and moaned about the field. They said it was too slippery because, they have a synthetic field down 2 days earlier, 2 days before they put real grass down. I mean, they have months and months to do this, Atlanta. And Atlanta's got one of the semifinal games. So I think they're going to have to change because Argentina said, we're glad we won because if we lost and complained about this, they'd said, but we won and it's still an awful field. We got to change. So that was Messi. And then Ronaldo for Portugal, they played Turkey the other night in Germany, in Dortmund, Germany, and it's an easy win. In fact, Turkey scored an own goal. An own goal is when you kick it in yourself. A defensive man for Turkey passed the ball back to the goalie. And if you're the goalie, he passed it to his right, and the goalie couldn't get to it. It dribbled right into the goal.
He missed the goalie.
They said it was one of the worst own goals in history.
It was terrible.
And so they're up 2-0 now. Portugal's got a breakaway, and Ronaldo's over here, and he's got a teammate going right in the goal. And Ronaldo had an easy goal to score, and instead he passed it to his guy who made the goal. And the big stunner was that Ronaldo, who is admittedly and famously selfish. He's a ruthless goal scorer, probably the leading goal scorer in the world, passed the ball and made an assist. And they said, what are you doing? And then somebody looked it up and said, wait, I think he's going for the assist record in the Euro Championship. So it was all like in his head. I'm going to get this assist.
I thought you were going to bring up the fact that the game had to be stopped like 4 different times. Folks wanting to go out and
taking selfies with Ronaldo. Selfies. And
I just
one kid came back.
I just want to know why in soccer, when a player scores and you're supposed to celebrate, they run away from the teammates, run to the corner of the field and slide, and everybody has to chase after them.
Adulation for them.
Why can't you?
Maybe you get them all piled
Actually, our guy who made a great goal the other night in the U.S. debut. What's the name? Not Reno, but the other guy that's been around. Anyway, he scored a goal. He ran to the bench.
Oh,
he ran to the bench to get mobbed by his teammates. He didn't run solo. So
well, see, that's something we lead the world in. We're turning the world around.
They've heard us talk.
We're going to run at them.
One more thing to wrap up: the Olympic trials.
Yes,
swimming and track and field.
Yes,
but I gotta throw the great Katie Ledecky under the bus.
Okay.
I mean, she's a distance swimmer. She's not a sprinter. Her races last for about an hour. I mean, they're endless. They go on, and she's laps and laps ahead of everybody. I mean, she's so far ahead of everybody in the world, and always has been. She's won all these Olympic golds. But I'm telling you, sit through her race, finally we have somebody more boring than Scheffler. I'm sorry, Katie. Shout out to you, but I
have one under the bus.
Okay.
I'm going to throw the Lakers under the bus for hiring JJ.
Haven't we already done that?
I know, but I'm throwing the Lakers under the bus because think about, it's not because of his experience. He doesn't have any experience. Because he was a good NBA player. How about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Jerry West as NBA coaches? Did any of those? Exactly. Thank you.
But they were great players. Redick wasn't a great player.
Well, but he was an NBA. Well, then why would you hire him then?
Because LeBron's his podcast.
Oh, God. So now we do podcasts. We can be hired in the NBA sooner or later.
Stevie Kerr Redick's career was probably better than Steve Kerr's.
Yeah.
Playing
As a
career.
player? Yeah. Not as many championships. Come on.
What?
Redick didn't win any championships.
We got to have that debate sometime. Do championships matter when measuring greatness?
Big shot Bob.
There are some people.
Big shot
who will.
Bob.
Yeah,
they
Bob
always-
Rory's
got 100.
He's got more
He's
of them.
got
Yeah,
10 or
than
12.
anybody.
They always talk about greatness with championships. Always.
And
And West sometimes doesn't get his due because he didn't win enough championships.
Only one. Only
Only
one.
one,
Against
right.
who? Against who?
The Knicks.
Come on.
The Knicks. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, we've thrown enough people under the bus. We're going to be back next week. We're going to talk some baseball. Doc.
Right, for sure.
It's time because we're getting to the 1st of July when we should start knowing who's good and who's not.
And my Cardinals are coming,
Your
so
Cardinals are
wait for
coming.
that.
And
The
Yankees
are falling apart with
falling
injuries.
apart.
They are.
Which-
All
well,
the
Your boy
injuries.
Stan, you
break
hate
our heart
him,
at
so
all.
he's out. You love
I
that.
was kind of happy.
Come on. Come on. Stan hits a ton of
No,
home runs.
I know he's been hitting better.
and
He
the greatest
has.
story in all of baseball this year, the Cleveland Guardians. We'll talk about that when we come back next week and throw some other people under the bus. Brought to you by Hudson's. Thanks for joining us.
Under the Bus is a production of the Loco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett, with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.